Welcome to Oneness and Wellness. I'm here with Marcia Reddington-Lawton, hooray, and our very special guest, Lorraine
Goldbloom.
Yes. Thank you. I knew you would know it.
A good thing I did. That would be awkward, right?
So
not every day I do, so.
So we're not going to do a good news story, because the good news story today is that we have had an amazing workshop with Lorraine. And we have an audience that has some questions that will be raised during the filming today. And so we're going to move right ahead. I'm going to ask Marcia to introduce Lorraine.
My pleasure. Hi, Dot.
Hi, Marcia. Good to be with you.
So thankful that you're joining us and that we have an audience. Hi, guys.
Hi. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah. And we have Lorraine. Now, in all of our lives, we've experienced challenges and blessings. We meet people who challenge us and set us free. The reason why Lorraine, and I asked Lorraine to be here, is that she's a teacher of a particular school of thought and healing work and awakening work that has actually made a huge impact in my life. And that's why I want to share her with you. So I'm going to just stop right here and turn everything over to my dear friend, Lorraine Goldbloom.
Oh, thank you, Marcia. And thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. It's delightful to be here, and I'm really touched by the warmth, of the reception that I'm getting. And I love to talk about Vortex. Even more, I love to do Vortex, which is a much better way of demonstrating what it's about. So that's usually what I do. I usually go and I talk a little bit, and then I do a healing. And to describe what Vortex does, usually what I open with is to describe what issues are. What exactly are we trying to heal? What exactly what does it mean to heal? So as I'm describing to people what Vortex is and how it works, I usually invite them to pick an issue and then talk a little bit about what an issue really is. And my definition of what an issue, it's language we commonly use, right? I have an issue with this, I have an issue with that, I have an issue with you, I have whatever. But to me, what an issue really is anything that keeps you out of being present.
In the moment.
In the moment. Present with yourself, present with the environment, present with the divine, present whatever. And in any way. Because issues can be physical, issues can be emotional, issues can be karmic, issues can be spiritual, and usually issues are all of that. Usually issues don't just show up in one place. Usually issues condition the body and the rest of the system in many different ways. That's what makes them very tricky, and that's what makes them hard to work with on one level. Because a really good issue is going to show up in so many different ways. An example I like to use is depression. It's a really good issue, right? It holds us in many different ways. It's not just an emotional issue. If you've ever worked with it or had it, it shows up in the body. It shows up in the spiritual self. It shows up in so many different ways. And you won't know exactly all the ways that it can hold you. But even that isn't the hardest part of the issues. The hardest part of working with issues and healing, for lack of better language, is the consciousness component that they hold. Because we don't tend to say, oh, I have depression in my system. We tend to say, I am depressed, right? We own it and we identify with it very deeply. And so for a healing modality to really be effective, it has to go after that consciousness component. It has to go after that thing that says, I am depressed, that consciousness. I'll call it separation consciousness in the center of it that keeps that alive.
Right. So even if you're not saying that verbally,
Right.
You're thinking that.
Well, with Vortex, with our issues, we just know it. Even if you're not thinking it, the system knows that, believes that, and acts as if. So it makes it hard because we have that going on 24/7 in our issues. Absolutely.
So what you're saying, if I understand correctly, is our belief systems creates a chosen response, which creates a condition or a habit in our lives.
Yes, but it's so much more than our belief system. It's our conditioning. And the key part of an issue, the consciousness of the issue. So there's a way that our issues condition the body. We can see it in the physical body. We can see it in the chakras. We can see it in the meridian. We see it. But that consciousness of I am depressed, I am sad, I am angry, whatever I am, that consciousness, more than a belief, holds everything in place. So for a healing modality to really be effective, it's going to have to target that, I'll call it separation consciousness, the thing that says I am fill in the blank. So that's where you have vortex healing. Vortex healing is a healing modality. It functions like one. It's something that you can learn. It's something that you can use on yourself, on others, at a distance, all of that. But the thing that really makes it unique is it doesn't just have an energetic component that comes in and targets our stuff. It has a consciousness component. It has a divine consciousness component that goes into the center of that issue, that separation consciousness, and wakes it up out of that story.
Okay, and that's the awakening. Now, I know, reading a little bit about your background, you've been involved in Reiki and yoga and Shiatsu and all different kinds of practices.
Yeah.
But this vortex healing is the one that really called to you.
Without question. On a practical level, because it worked. I mean, results, I know you're not supposed to say, oh, it's about results. Yeah, it's absolutely on one level about results. But also when I started taking classes, and I really just started taking classes from curiosity. I didn't really have any ambition to be a healer or a teacher. I was doing something very different. But something deep inside of me knew that I wanted to wake up on a much deeper level, that there was something going on here that wasn't just energetics sorting itself out. And it wasn't just about I'm feeling better. There was something in there that wanted to keep going. And so I just continued to use the work and take classes from a place of just fun and curiosity and got great results. And then as I got deeper into the process and other people were getting deeper into the process, they're having more profound awakenings. The work works, and not just on an issue level.
Well, I know Marcia. When Marcia said she was going to New York to take this new course, I said, what is she doing now?
Yeah.
And, and then she would give me a little bit, and I said, I don't get any of it. I don't understand what this is all about.
Yeah.
And I have to say that you going through the workshop this morning, I have a much better understanding.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's why we do that. We want to give the opportunity to, the healing speaks what I can't speak. But it's useful to provide a context, because one of the ways we describe this lineage is the Merlin lineage. And that is, Merlin is beautiful. It brings up these wonderful images of Arthurian legend and all of that. But when we're working with Merlin, we're actually not talking about an individual. There's been, the word Merlin has been used as a title that's been passed down throughout history. But when we're talking about Merlin, we're actually talking about a divine consciousness. We're talking about an aspect of the divine. And that's the consciousness that can come in. That's the thing that has the power to come in and wake up the issue. Right. We can't kind of wake ourselves up out of our own stuff. It's like making the bed when we're in it. It seems like it would work, but there needs to be some kind of outside perspective to bring us out of that story.
Right. And I think, for myself, and I'm going to be really honest, when I hear the word Merlin, I think, right. What is that? It's a negative. It feels negative to me from whatever I've associated that name with. But I see that you're giving an entirely different perspective.
Right.
On Merlin.
The quality of Merlin as a divine consciousness, I'll say as an avatar consciousness, is that of magical transformation. And magic is viewed in different ways. You know, it's viewed, often it's viewed as illusion. It's the rabbit and the hat, and I got away with something because it looked good. But the real magic is divinity expressing itself in form. Mm-hmm. Any possibility. Magic can demonstrate itself in any possibility. And that includes us and this and our issues as well. So that is Merlin. It's a divine consciousness that expresses itself, and it really drives this work. It's the thing that makes this work effective, because only a divine perspective can awaken us out of our separation consciousness.
One of the powerful things about Vortex, the School of Vortex Healing for me, is the direct access to working with the divine. Mm. You know, talk about partnership in life. You know, you hope to have a good partner, you know, in your marriage. You hope to have a good relationship with your children. You hope to have a good relationship in community and family. We all want that. Yeah. And to be able to have access to have the capacity to connect with and invite into our lives the divine transformation, the capacity to create divine transformation, not as I want it, but as a much smarter level of intelligence has the capacity to interact with me. That has my full attention. I'm looking for strong, loving, smarter than me partnership.
Yeah. And I've heard Rick Weinman, our founder, talk a lot about how important it is to get into relationship with the divine, whatever that means. It's really between you and the divine, but having an experience of being a person in separation, yes, it feels like a relationship until, you know, the awakening is so deep that you recognize that it's divinity playing through itself. But from where we are and where we live and where we get out of bed every day and brush our teeth and do whatever we got to do, it's about, you know, relationship with the divine, and that's a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. You know, it's very personal and intimate.
Yeah, and you know, when you talk about magic, I think about, you know, you use magic, you use play, and I think about, it is fun, and I think about children and the innocence of children, and they love magic. Absolutely. You know, this is, fairies are magical, and play can be magical, and sometimes as you get to be an adult, you forget that, and you know, we get very, I don't know, old.
That was exactly the word I was going to use if we get very old.
I forgot.
You gotta remember the magic.
You gotta remember the magic, and it, you know, just being in separation and struggling with our stuff. I invented struggle. I feel like it's easy to forget the magic, but when you've created a relationship with the divine and you're working with this work, and you're, you know, of course the work doesn't come from you, it comes through you. So that's part of how it helps to develop the system, just doing this work. You know, you remember the magic and you see the magic, and it becomes part of your everyday life. I used to sort of have my spiritual life over here and this there, and now I'm happy to say it's just life. You know, it's just, I'm not a spiritual person anymore. It's just life.
It's just who you are.
And there's light, and there's magic everywhere.
Right.
You know.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with you again. This is very interesting. It's a wonderful topic. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
This is the Oneness and Wellness program, and if you'd like to see this show in your town, we're now in Dedham, Boston, Northampton. You can go to the website, www.Oneness and Wellness, and find out how to bring the videos there to your town.